I'm Jordan Belfort, and this is Sales School. I want the 75-inch to be, not the 50. I want that ribeye, not the sirloin. I'm going first class in business and never coach. Simply, there are certain times when paying a little bit more is worth it. Just like there's a huge difference between that stretched out sadness in your drawers and Tommy John underwear. When you're wearing Tommy John underwear, you're that much more comfortable. So you can do everything, and I mean everything, better. Listen, I wear Tommy Johns, and you should too. Returns and exchanges are free, and right now you get 15% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/school. That's 15% off Tommy John underwear and loungewear at TommyJohn.com/school. One more time, TommyJohn.com/school. See their site for details. I want to talk about a skill today. I want to talk about an aspect of creating certainty. What it really has to do with is this mistake, or this pattern I see with salespeople where they try to close a prospect. They try to move forward on the straight line when the prospect really isn't that certain about their product logically. You get it? Like the prospect is clearly not sold that your product is the best deal out there, that has the best cost-benefit ratio, has the features and benefits that best apply to them, it's priced fairly. They're not really sold. And it's obvious from the questions they ask, from the tonality of their responses, yet the salesperson is trying to go and loop and move down the line without building certainty for the product. They're more into the emotional side of the equation, lowering action threshold. Let me just tell you something, guys. People don't buy. Very, very few buy when they're uncertain. Like, if they're below a 5 or 6, you have no shot because people don't make decisions that don't believe in their best self-interest. We don't buy things that we think will make our life worse. We buy things that we think will make our lives better. You get it? So that positive intent is always driving someone's decision at the highest level. So what happens is, if someone's not that certain, if after you're done with your presentation, or even your first loop, if they're still like, I don't know, it doesn't, it sounds okay, and they're still asking you questions, you can't be moving down the line and expecting to close these people when they're still in a state of uncertainty about the product, logically. The reason your first 10 is your first 10 is it must be resolved before you move forward. In the same way with the 3 basic tenets of the straight line, you must be in control before you try to move someone even down into intelligence gathering, or else you're spinning your wheels. You won't be able to gather intelligence effectively because they'll cut you off. They'll try to take back control. They won't answer you forthrightly. They won't answer you honestly. They'll answer your questions with the questions of their own, which is what was happening to my guys way back in the day, which inspired me to create the straight line. The syntax, the steps of the straight line are there for a reason. Step 1 has always been to take control because nothing good happens without that. But in terms of certainty, the first 10, you must get your prospect to a very high level of logical certainty about your product, good, or service. Without that, you're fighting this massive uphill battle to try to close them. There's no swift language patterns or lowering the action threshold or talking about the second 10 about if you knew me, you trusted me, we'd be doing business. No, they still don't know they still don't love your product. That's step 1. So make sure that you get that in place before you go about trying to do anything else after that. That comes after it. And I see this all the time. As I go around and train sales forces, I see it all the time, again and again, for very good, solid companies that still make money, they're still doing well. They have a lot of salespeople that are trying to close without getting their prospects into a state of absolute logical certainty. And yet, when I invariably start going from salesperson to salesperson at one of these companies, the top producers are all doing that. You get it? There's not one top producer I've run into who tries to close when their prospects are uncertain. They know that's not going to work, so they intuitively don't try it. Now, in terms of the straight line, even if you're not naturally a top producer, it can allow you to perform at the same level, but you got to follow the roadmap. Follow the syntax. It's there for a reason. Remember, strategic preparation. Take your time to create your patterns, create your airtight, logical case, 3 of them. So by the time you're done, the first, second, the third version, one building on top of the other, you have this, as I say, scream from the hilltops, no holds barred, inarguable, airtight logical case that makes sense on every freaking level. Without that, it's really, really hard to close at any reasonably high level. Starts with strategic preparation, meaning you take the time to map this out beforehand. Don't try to wing it. Don't try to just, come on the fly with this incredible airtight logical case that you do in 3 chunks. It's very hard to do. Almost never succeed unless you're a natural born closer at the highest level. Take the time to write out these patterns. Get your thoughts straight. And also by doing that, by having things written out and memorized, or in front of you if you're over the phone, you still have there's a guide, right? It allows you to essentially have your conscious mind freed up to be watching and listening and hanging on your prospects, every word, every move, so you can judge where they are on a certain scale and see if you're falling out of rapport, all these crucial things that allow you to ultimately move them to a higher level of certainty. If you are essentially just, so caught up in your own words because you haven't planned things out and you're struggling, or your entire conscious awareness is based on trying to pull the best words out of thin air, it's very disempowering because your conscious mind has very little processing power, right? If it's all tied up trying to come up with the right words, well, you don't have a lot left over to analyze your prospects' reactions to those words. That's why strategic preparation is so key. Not just because it helps you build certainty because you have the right things to say, but it also allows you to become a much more effective listener. You have to worry about what order you're going to ask your question. You have it prepared. This is the order. This is makes the most sense. Your logical flows. By preparing yourself, you set yourself up for greatness. By walking into a sale unprepared and trying to wing it, you start yourself with like a 30-yard penalty behind the freaking starting line. All right, and you got to play huge catch-up ball. So don't do that. Okay, the straight line system is a gift that keeps giving. It allows anyone to become a top producer in the field. But you got to use it. And part of that means engaging in strategic preparation and not walking in trying to wing it. It doesn't work.